It's 5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is the Patrick Johnson Show here on 94.3 The Game, and we have a settlement in, it appears, the ACC settlement with Florida State and Clemson. It is, according to some, they say, not a show of strength, and a mission of weakness after several months of legal maneuvering. The numbers are pretty interesting. The deal goes down. The exit fee does go down. After this year, or actually the next fiscal year, it's going to go down $18 million a year until the early 2030s, when it becomes a $75 million fee, and then that stays at a $75 million exit fee. Still no chump change. $75 million per, leading into the media rights deal, which is 2036. FSU is going to make more money from the expanded ACC. So will Clemson. In fact, they believe Clemson, they're going to make an additional $20 million over 6 years. $20 million per was the number I read a little earlier this afternoon. So we'll see. Philip Pilkington, by the way, is in today. Are you running baseball today? Who's running that bowl of fruit and nuts?
I'll be here.
Well, then I'm assured that we'll have comments for sports tomorrow from the great Philip Pilkington.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Coach O's going. I don't see why Coach O wouldn't go.
Yeah, he's probably there. Pilk, is this who's the winner, who's the loser in this thing, or is there one? The ACC's staying together, so I guess that's a win. For ESPN, that's a win because ESPN's certainly doesn't have as much invested as they do in the SEC, but they've got money invested in the ACC.
I think one of the biggest winners in this is, and this kind of sounds crazy, but getting away from the numbers is the fans. Look, there's no other conference where fans care more about the conference staying together, right? Most people care about keeping their rivalries and what's best for their team. I think Texas fans were okay going to the SEC because Oklahoma went with them, whereas ACC fans want the conference to stay together. We were distraught, people from true ACC country, when Maryland left, one of the original members. Yeah. This conference is so deeply rooted in the fabric of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia, and what that conference tournament means. I mean, people get upset who don't even go, get ticked off when they move it to Brooklyn just because it's in Brooklyn, because it's not in ACC country. And there are so many ACC fans that say they're a fan of X team, and then
Brooklyn's in the footprint now. Come on,
but they're not in the roots. It's not the roots. It's on the branch of the ACC.
I know. The branch. It's more like a branch that fell on the ground because of a storm. But go ahead.
But there are so many ACC fans too that are, hey, I pull for my ACC team. I hate my rival. But they pull for all the other ACC teams to do well in the conference. They want the conference to look good. I know plenty.
I don't know about that.
I mean, look, not my generation and not your generation, Patrick, but I know plenty of older guys that are like, man, Georgia Tech's in the tournament, I'll pull for Georgia Tech.
Well,
if Clemson's in the tournament, I'll pull for Clemson.
I would never root for North Carolina for anything.
Well,
I would admit that I enjoyed watching NC State win the ACC tournament once they beat Duke, beat Carolina. That was great. It was just great theater, great television, great emotion. And then their run to the Final Four was a lot of fun. I'll admit that.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's Tobacco Road hatred, but most people, who are Carolina fans have no problem pulling, like I said, for Georgia Tech or Clemson, especially the older generation. Same with Duke fans. I mean, if Wake was making a run, I'd pull for Wake growing up a Duke fan.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Wake just waved the flag last night at Duke.
Yeah.
And their coach quit on them. And I saw the share of the TV viewership graphic a little bit ago that the ACC, of course, Florida State and Clemson of TV viewers of football get the highest percentage. It's in the team. You know, they divide it among. They came up with it, but Duke is, you know, probably in the bottom third. Wake Forest is like second or third from the bottom. Now, so is SMU, but here's the thing with SMU. Unlike Wake, SMU's got enough money to weather this storm.
When you got black gold money, you can do whatever you want. That's
why
the Saudis are running the golf and
thing.
the Formula One and everything else.
They've got enough money they'll be fine. I don't know about Cal. I don't know about Stanford. Certainly Wake Forest, who is a legacy member of the ACC. Let's face it. We had that little debate among ourselves yesterday. It's going to be interesting to talk tomorrow to Brian Mull. We're going to have a kind of an extended appearance with Mull tomorrow. We don't know yet what's going on. I know there's a lot of high school spring sports have been moved to today or yesterday because of the weather that was scheduled to be played tomorrow. Right now, I think ECU is talking with Michigan about what they're going to do to play softball tomorrow. The idea being that once the weather clears the area, they should be able to get, so it might be more of an evening game, Pilk. That's what my hashtag sources are telling me.
I had stuff I wanted to do in the evening.
Well,
then I'm stuck at softball.
Don't go work.
No, I promised Katie I'd work. I'm not going to bail on Katie. I mean, it's nothing that big deal. The boys were wanting to go to trivia.
You were kind of whining there.
Well, the boys are wanting to go to trivia. They're going to be out of town next week because they're all on spring break. Me and Isaac are going to have to hold the whole fort down next week.
Who are the boys that want to go to trivia?
Nicky the Bull, William Grover, Mr. Kosolki.
Sounds like just a bunch of nerds is what it sounds like.
Well, we are a bunch of nerds. A bunch of sports nerds.
Why am I never invited to trivia? Actually, don't invite me. I don't want to go to
Because you're
trivia.
never in Greenville. If you lived here or hung out here, well,
I'm not hanging out. I'm not hanging out.
Exactly. That's the point. You got to hang out for 2 hours if you're at trivia and have a couple beers with us. Well, not with Grover and with Pancake because they're like 12. But
and who's Pancake?
That's what. Oh, sorry, Nicky the Bull. Igo calls him Pancake. Because he looked up his huddle highlights from high school and he just pancaked everybody that it was lined up in front of him.
I think Nicky the Bull could have played somewhere.
Yeah, he could have went D2, maybe even small D1.
Yeah, he could have gone somewhere. Nicky the Bull's strong as a bull. That's why he's the bull. So that is sort of the news of the day. We'll delve into this. They also have, and I don't know all of the schools. I haven't had time today to go through this. This is part of kind of having the day in the evening show a little shorter, some things I'll delve into. But I do know in Martin County, they appealed the NCHSAA after they've done this reclassification and come up with new leagues. My guy, Diamond Dave Richmond's fired up because the Martin County school is, I guess, being forced to play somebody in a conference that's 2 hours away. In other words, their appeal was denied. So tough stuff for a lot of these little schools that maybe see some population surges in the East, and they're getting grouped into a certain classification out of this 8 classification deal. And some long bus rides on Tuesday nights for some kids, which, if we're in it for the good of the student athlete, makes you
just
wonder,
ask the NCAA in this conference realignment. Nobody who's making decisions. I shouldn't say nobody because you care and I care, but the people making decisions, none of those jerks could give a care less about the student athlete.
At least the NCAA has gotten, by and large, off of the good of the student athlete mantra. Yeah. The High School Athletic Association is still spoon feeding us that like it's concern number one.
Yeah. I've got my own thoughts on certain people in certain positions of power that it would be sports, but it would also be politics, so I'll save it for Talk of the Town.
You can maybe delve into it. We just don't have a lot of time to delve into it now. All right, we've got Pirate baseball tonight from the Segra Stadium in Fayetteville. Beautiful night for baseball. Will get you out to Segra coming up in a little bit. 5:45 will be the airtime for the Bud Light on Deck show. And when we come back, we will preview that and talk about the weekend that was. Some Pirate baseball chatter with Mike Mullis. So stay with us here on the Patrick Johnson Show.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Wheels kind of came off in the 7th. Pruitt just didn't have it, and it became a little bit of an epidemic. And the loss Friday, and I know a lot of people left the ballpark feeling dejected. Bounce back against Indiana State. And then really nice bounce back win against Virginia Tech, too, closing out the weekend. So incremental steps as this roster gets a little more experience and seasoning along the way.
Yeah, I lost you for a second there, PJ, but I heard your synopsis of the weekend. And big game, man, started off by Norby, and man, clean, great outing, tough luck, no decision there, and you said it best. You know, Pruitt comes in, and from the onset, kind of like he didn't exactly have his good stuff, and didn't take long for him to hang a breaking pitch that gets deposited out in the jungle, and it's 6-run inning there. You get the same thing when they go to Beschloss to face the left-handed hitting Jake Casey, who, dude's got lineage, right? And Beschloss gets him in a 2-strike count. Kind of looks like it's going to work out, and Casey drives one the other way out of the park. So yeah, other than that blemish of an inning, if you take the rest of the effort that was shown by the Pirates, man, it was a solid outing all the way around. Again, just take one inning out of it, and you got a team that quite possibly swept the weekend.
What were you impressed with against Indiana State and Virginia Tech? Indiana State's certainly not the team that they've been in recent years. Virginia Tech had put up some numbers against, let's just face it, quite inferior competition. But still, they put up the numbers. And East Carolina seemed to have an answer. There was a bases-loaded jam in the middle innings that ECU got out of that I thought was a real key in the game against Tech, because it was still relatively close at that time.
Yeah, no, they let's go back to Indiana State. What my takeaway with the Pirates, they were obviously very offensive. and the pitching for Indiana State was not what the Pirates will see next weekend with Coastal, but nonetheless you can only hit who you're facing, and they were very offensive, got off a lot of good swings. Even the outs were loud outs that line drives at people or solid contact, and obviously what every Pirate fan's got to be most excited about coming out of the weekend is watching Dixon Williams get hot. 7 or 8 hits on the weekend. Can't remember exactly which, but he, Dixon had a great weekend, and everybody knows how important he is to the success of what Coach Godwin and staff are trying to do. So, yeah, that's kind of the summation of the Indiana State game. Obviously, got great pitching again, and just quite frankly, kind of overpowered the Sycamores. And so then you go to the Virginia Tech game, and PJ, it's like, okay, excuse me, normally we've seen Bradley Zayak in that, somewhere in a starting rotation, and he doesn't make an appearance, and don't know exactly what the nature is. They may have held him, and he may be starting tonight for all I know. But, they go to Williams. Lance Williams gets the start and gets them to about 50 pitches, and then, here comes Ethan Young and kind of takes over the heart of the game, and then they turn it back over to Pruitt. And if anybody needed to come out and reestablish himself, it was Pruitt. He had been a guy that they could go to when they needed the big strikeout. Been challenged a little bit at times with walks, and then obviously the hang and breaking ball on Friday night. But, the staff did a great job keeping Virginia Tech off balance, and I think the scouting report on Virginia Tech at this point probably says just don't throw them a strike. Breaking balls around the zone and fastballs to set up that breaking ball, and the Pirates did a great job executing that. So relatively good defense. Although we did see, Alex Boucher had another error, a couple errors on the weekend, and actually was charged with a really fluky error on the ball that got stuck in his shirt. And for those that were watching and wondering, yes, that was charged an error. It is an error. So Boucher has 6 errors on the season. We'll give him a pass on one of them, but that number's a little bit high for this, this early in the year.
Mike Mullis, ESPN Plus baseball analyst. He'll be on all 3 games of the series this weekend alongside me for ECU hosting 24th ranked Coastal Carolina. That's this weekend at Clark LeClair Stadium. Pirates are at Segra Stadium in the city of Fayetteville tonight, and that will be taking place against Gardner Webb, who comes in 6-7. No video tonight. Your only way to catch it, 94.3 The Game on air, online at 943thegame.com or the IBX Media app if you have not downloaded that for Google Play or the App Store. All right, Mike, Pirates 5-6 coming in. Bralak is getting the or Zayak, rather, is getting the nod tonight. Bradley Zayak is getting the start. What do you expect out of him? He's had a couple of starts over the first couple of weekends. Didn't make an appearance this past, but he's going against the Running Bulldogs tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's them saying, hey, we know we need to get this game, get back to 500. We'll use, one of our weekend guys to go out there and go after him. And probably the feeling being that, hey, he could most likely extend his outing against, Gardner Webb. They're obviously they're a collegiate baseball team, and they're going to be a quality enough club, but they're certainly not of the caliber of even maybe, the Virginia Techs or obviously Coastal Carolina. So, the thought probably being, hey, let's roll him out and see. His starts have and so I think this is the thought process of hey, maybe he can get us in, into the 5th, maybe even a little deeper. Maybe you see something kind of like what you got with some of the starting pitching this weekend. And if that's the case, that should give the Pirate offense plenty of opportunity to bang around and put some numbers up on the board. So, it's another one of these freshmen. So, you just don't know until you run them out there. You could have a plan. It's kind of the old joke. Everybody has a plan until, you step in the ring with Tyson and he punches you in the mouth the first time, and there goes the plan. So we'll see what happens with Zayak tonight.
Speaking of weekend starters, is Ethan Young, has he emerged as one for ECU?
I mean, I think they like him as a bullpen arm, and and he obviously until Towers and Follett get back, anything's possible. So I mean, I think that's certainly a possibility. He showed that 96-mile-an-hour fastball in his outing against Tech, and I for one, had never seen that out of him. I'd seen him up to 94, but he was 96 a handful of times, and obviously pretty amped on the mound. But it's the secondary stuff, man, that was filthy. So I certainly think, excuse me, PJ, I certainly think it's a possibility that you could see him get a weekend start. But I think that could be said for anybody in that ECU, pitching staff at any time. It's what is the need and what's the best way to fill it.
Mike, Dixon Williams had a really solid LeClair Classic, and he's up to 342 now. What are you seeing out of Dixon that has allowed him to achieve the numbers he's putting up presently?
He has taken what he is being given. He's not trying to overpower. He got tons of balls he hit right through the box and into the other gap, and his opposite field gap in left field. Just super controlled. And when you're making great contact like that, all of a sudden you run into a hanging breaking pitch, and that's the one he hits off the scoreboard. So he is certainly locked in, or at least was locked in this past weekend. And it's something that, again, like I mentioned earlier, should really be a point of excitement and optimism for all the Pirate fans. I mean, he's a guy that you got to have it. And quite frankly, you saw a little bit out of Kobe Wallace had some signs of improvement as well. So although he still had a little bit of a rough weekend, not what he would like to have, but definitely better. And he keeps playing good defense and obviously can give you a look on the mound. So a key part to the Pirates' future. But yeah, Dixon, man, he's the approach is just so much better, and looks like he's having he looks like a little more fun, which obviously it's a whole lot easier to have fun when you're going good.
A couple other hitters I want to ask you about. Let's talk about John Collins. He grounds into the double play because he really doesn't run the fastest, but hits the ball so dang hard, and he did, and that is the double play that ended things on Friday. 364. He's driven in runs. He doesn't get cheated up there. It's at least what I've seen out of him. These aren't going to be long at bats. He's swinging early. How does he help this crowd? How does he help this Pirate team long term?
Well, it's kind of a weird bookended series for him again. I know you were working on Sunday and probably missed his last at bat, but it was I'm trying to paint this as nicely as possible. It was quite bad. He swung at a breaking ball that bounced in front of the plate, and then he took a breaking ball that was kind of hard of the play. It was kind of taking him to a knee, and I even remember saying, "So that'll probably be the end of the day for Mr. Collins."
Yeah,
and it was. He was pinch hit for with Kalinich after that, but he had been so locked in. That one at bat just did not look characteristic of him at all. It's almost like his intent coming, from the on deck circle was he was swinging at the first pitch regardless. And they had the big 6'6" right-hander up there with a lot of tilt, big breaking ball, and 94-mile-an-hour fastball. So I mean, he was facing a formidable arm. But he's a guy that a bat off the bench that can give you a chance. In that situation on Friday night, it was a little concerning because he does just hit the ball so hard all the time. And he's, below average runner. He's a catcher, so that's okay. You got a senior on the mound that had really been struggling, but you saw his intent was obviously to stay down. Knees are kind of below. Yeah. Just he was going to pound the bottom of the zone, and you're talking about led that Kent State team experiences the year before. So a guy that that knows how to get it done. Although he had struggled some in the inning, and I do get that as well. But he baited Big John into that fastball down and hard. I mean, give the shortstop credit. I mean, that was a smoke ground ball. He made a nice play on, and it was a really easy turn between the velocity of the batted ball and maybe the lack of velocity from John Collins.
We got Mike Mullis, ESPN baseball analyst for ESPN Plus with us here. Walker Barron, 7-game hit streak. I think a very quietly solid season so far for Walker Barron.
It's he's been a huge bright spot. Even as the Pirates have had their offensive struggles, he has given them really, really quality at bats. And so yeah, they've gotten a lot of production out of his spot. I just you wonder, catching the amount of games that he's already called consecutive innings, and looks like he's going to carry the brunt of that load. Definitely going to carry the brunt of it, may carry the entirety of it here for a while. You just wonder how the legs are going to hold up. And listen, the training staff and the athletic training staff and the strength conditioning staff, they've done so much to prepare him and educate him, and they've got all the toys to speed that rehab up. But there's a certain point where it's going to naturally take a toll. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. But he has been really, really good this year for the Pirates, or to this point in the year for the Pirates. At least in the way of giving them quality workman-like at bat.
You got Coastal coming in this weekend. Get a little primer on them in a second. Gardner-Webb 6-7. They have lost 2 of 3 to App State over the weekend. Dropped the midweek last week by 10 to South Carolina. What kind of team are the Pirates going to run into against Gardner-Webb today?
Gardner-Webb today is again a game that you feel like the Pirates should go out and, if they play the way they're capable of playing, they should kind of have their way. They should go out and, I don't want to say dominate Gardner-Webb. You never want to say that because it is college baseball, and these midweek games are crazy. But I do think by putting Zayak in that role, I think that mitigates a little bit of the potential for the craziness, because that's a guy who has taken the ball, on weekends against good teams. So I like the Pirates tonight. I think you saw against Indiana State, Virginia Tech, and even Kent State from an offensive standpoint, and should come through this one just fine.
All right, Mully, this weekend, big matchup. Got Coastal coming in. They are 24th in the land. Give us a little bit on the Chants and that series.
Their catcher is elite. He's elite. He's really, really good. He's highly thought of by Major League Baseball. The pundits there as it relates to the draft. Their little leadoff guy, Mios, he's a interesting cat. He's not a very big guy, kind of, if this makes sense, kind of a Riley Johnson type dude, but not maybe as physical as Riley Johnson. Same size, smaller, but just kind of a really tough out, and plays a really good center field and sprays it around, runs the bases. And, that's what you get with Coastal kind of historically. They'll have those guys that are kind of the table setters, and then they've got the three kind of boppers that they mix in there that can do some damage with the long ball. So they like their pitching staff. Their weekend rotation has been pretty good, and it was kind of a thing that they were kind of priding themselves on out of the gate. So are they the number 24 team in the country? I absolutely would think so. Maybe even better than that. But I'm looking forward to this one. I'll be honest with you. When the schedule came out and I saw that series, I was like, man, that's going to be great. And I hope that's something that these two teams continue to do, because obviously a lot of Pirate faithful would enjoy a trip to Myrtle, Conway, about this time next year. So the Coastal does have Carolina today. Mm-hmm. Carolina's still undefeated, by the way. So, it's hard to imagine they go undefeated for the whole season. But they, big game for them. And then they come in here and we mix it up with them. And then they have Wake Forest. So it's a kind of a season-defining run prior to getting into conference play for Coastal Carolina.
All right, Mully, good stuff. Thanks for the primer. Thanks for the analyses. Enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, buddy. I will catch you soon.
All right, there he goes. Mike Mullis with us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. Good to have Mully on. I do like the idea of knowing that it's important to get to 500 tonight. Zayak going to the hill. I was impressed with him in his start against George Mason. Been pretty impressed with his makeup overall. I thought in that second game of the doubleheader, he was really showed a lot. So we'll see how he performs here. Gardner Webb is certainly not maybe of the caliber, but they're going to be fired up to play in a gorgeous minor league stadium down in Fayetteville. So they'll be fired up and ready to go. All right, this will do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be with a fresh show at 5 o'clock. We'll let you know how all of that carries out and how all of that will be played out. Hoping to have Michigan and ECU softball tomorrow. May get pushed back with this storm system, so do keep an eye out for that tomorrow. In the morning, I'll greet you on Talk of the Town alongside Jason Sane, our old friend. We're going to be co-hosting it together. How about that? And then we will have Hilk and I and Brian Mull talking hoops tomorrow on the PJ Show. All right, Pirates coming up at the top of the hour along with Gardner Webb, Dylan Johnson, Dr. Gary Overton on the radio call. 94.3 The Game and the IBX media apps where you can listen to it. And when we come back after this, Pilk will give you an update on everything going on in the world of sports.